Try it with us. Shana Tova. Let's try it again. Shana Tova. There we go. Welcome to all. We bring in this new year, this day of atonement, beginning with the words Or Tzarua Latzadik. We turn to page 16. Light is sown for the righteous. We turn to Kol Nidre. We invite up our past presidents to the Bima: Susan Rosenberg Jones, Sari Shear, Mickey Rindler, Sarah King, Fred Bash, Steve Shore, Stephanie Canarak, Jerry Arbatier, Bill Abrams, and Julie Solomon, and we rise. Please be seated. All shall be forgiven, the entire community of Israel and the stranger who lives in their midst, for all have gone astray in error. Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt, please forgive their failings now in keeping with your boundless love. Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha. And God responded, I forgive you, as asked. We turn to the Baruch Hu on page 22, and we rise. Please be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv ha'aravim b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerateihem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom u'mevi layla, umavdil ben yom u'vein layla, Adonai tzavaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meotecha v'hayu advarim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavecha hayom ha'levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta V'shivtecha b'veitecha, uflechtecha v'derech, ufshokvecha ufkumecha, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem Emet. We turn to page 38 and we read together. Truth and faith. These are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, the giver of life, who would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs and portents in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel from its midst to enduring freedom. Witnesses to this heroic might, the people thanked and praised God by name, freely accepting the reign of heaven. Then Moses and Miriam and all Israel sang to you this song of utter joy. For on this day of atonement shall be made for you to purify from all your wrongs, and pure you shall be in the presence of Adonai, page 45.
המליך מלכותי בחיי חון וביומי חון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה בזמן קריב וימרו
Amen.
יש נראה מערה ועלה ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה לעילה ולעילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, ושפחתה ונחמתה, דמירם בעלמה, ואמרו
We turn to page 46 and we rise for the Amidah.
Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, לחפץ בחיים, וכותרנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מחלקל חיים וחסד, בחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר.
Please be seated. You are holy, your name is holy, seekers of holiness praise you day by day, Selah. We continue together reading in English on the bottom of page 53. And so, in your holiness, give all creation the gift of awe. Turn our fear to reverence. Let us be witnesses of wonder, perceiving all nature as a prayer come alive. We bow to the sovereignty of your strength, the primacy of your power. We yearn for connection with all that lives, doing your will with wholeness of heart. Awe-inspiring is your creation, all-encompassing your transcendent name. And so, in your holiness, give your people the gift of honor. Bless with praise those who praise you. Bless with hope those who seek you. Give your believers a basis for faith, true happiness for the land of Israel, true joy in Jerusalem. May the sparks of David, your servant, soon grow bright enough for us to see a beam of light in the darkness, a promise of perfection. We read together on page 56. And so, in your holiness, give the righteous the gift of a vision bright with joy, a world where evil has no voice, and the rule of malevolence fades like wisps of smoke. Good people everywhere will celebrate the stunning sight of arrogance gone from earth. You and you alone, Adonai, will reign over creation upon Mount Zion, home of your presence, and in Jerusalem, a city set apart by you, as the psalmist believed. Adonai will reign eternally, your God, Zion, for all generations. Hallelujah. You are holy, your name is awe. There is nothing divine beyond you. As the prophet Isaiah taught, the source of all might is exalted through justice, the God of holiness, made holy through righteousness. Baruch atah Adonai HaMelech HaKadosh. Together, you chose us with love to be messengers of mitzvot, and through us you made known your aspirations. Among all the many peoples, you gave us a pathway to holiness. Among all the great nations, you uplifted us and made yourself our sovereign. And so we seek you and serve you and celebrate our nearness to your presence. Your great and sacred name has become our calling. In your love, eternal our God, you have given us this Yom Kippur, a day on which our wrongs are forgiven with love, a day of sacred assembly, a day to be mindful of our peoples going out from Egypt. Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness, together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of atonement. Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo latova, ufakteinu vo livracha, v'hoshienu vo l'chaim. Eternal our God, remember us, be mindful of us, and redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing. Favor us with words of deliverance and mercy. Show us the depth of your care. God, we await your redemption, for you reign with grace and compassion. We pause for a few moments of silent prayer.
ושלום ופרנסה טובה, ברכה ושלום, נזכר ונתכתב לפניך. אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים ולשלום, ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Those of you that have heard me speak before know that I always like to tell children that if they can't sit through a sermon, let's say 20 minutes long, they can go outside in the hallway. I won't be offended. My feelings won't be hurt. But since it is 9 o'clock on Kol Nidre, and there are no children, I'll just say, if you're a grown-up and you have trouble sitting through a sermon, it's okay. You can go next door. I won't be offended. There I was, only a few weeks ago, standing on a balcony in Jerusalem, quietly chatting with my husband. It was hot, but good hot. The kind of heat that reminds you you're not in North America. The kind of heat that's so hot you want to cover your body rather than expose it. We stood there on that balcony in the middle of a family vacation, looking out at Jerusalem, just looking at the old city and beyond, that place where King David lived, that place where the sacred temple once stood. We stared at the site of the Western Wall where generations of Jews leave notes desperate for communication with God. We stood there having a very basic conversation. What should we do that day? Should we go to the Shuk or the Israel Museum, or maybe there were some sprinklers we could go to let our kids run around? And then we heard what I can only describe as two very loud booms in the distance. What was that? I looked at my husband, but I knew what it was. Whatever it was, it didn't sound good, he answered. We went inside, refresh on my phone, act calm for the kids. Run through scenarios in my mind. Is there a bomb shelter in this building? What do I need to take with me if I have to go there? Why am I even thinking these things? Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Of course it's fine. What if it's not fine? Of course it's fine. Refresh on my phone. There it is. Black and white in front of me. The headline read, "Rockets fired at Jerusalem. Islamic Jihad takes credit." I looked up at my husband. So we're in a war now? What was even happening? It was hard, and it still is hard, to compute actual violence when we generally live so peacefully without real threat to bodily harm. What even was this? A family vacation interrupted by Islamic Jihad firing rockets at us within earshot? I still don't really get it. It was scary. We didn't know what was going to happen. Would things escalate? Would Hamas join in the fighting? How would Israel respond? Would this violence aggravate tensions between Arab and Jewish Israeli citizens? Would we have to run into a shelter with our children like our friends in Tel Aviv did? Under the sudden weight of that sun on that balcony in Jerusalem, I felt panic and anxiety and dread. We didn't know what would happen. In a few days' time, it became clear that we were safe, thank God. We were under the Iron Dome, and the hostilities began to relax a bit. But if I'm being forthcoming, that feeling of anxiety and dread lingered with me for another reason. I started to feel a little nervous because standing on that balcony, listening to rockets explode just a few miles away, I realized that this year, needed to be the year that I really speak to you about Israel. Or more specifically, I want to speak with you tonight about the way we speak about Israel and the impact of the way we speak about Israel. And that made me a little nervous. I think very seriously about how I choose to spend these precious few minutes that we have together. And Israel, we know, can be a tough topic, divisive and complex and misunderstood and emotionally charged. So before I talk about it, I want to remind you of my approach to complicated, sometimes sensitive topics. One of the core elements of Judaism is the respectful exchange of ideas. Jews have been in conversations for centuries, agreeing and disagreeing with each other. The Jewish way is to add to the conversation, not to stifle it. Torah itself is full of ideas that seem in tension with each other, and so are we. Any single page of Talmud will offer countless conflicting opinions. Jews couldn't even decide which direction to hang a mezuzah, for goodness sake. So we hung it at a slant. So that's to say, you may agree with some of my ideas. You may disagree with others. That's okay. I don't believe agreement is always the goal. Judaism is about wrestling and listening and considering and contemplating and challenging ideas, sometimes mainstream ideas. So if you disagree, I promise to respect you and your ideas, and I ask you to extend me the same courtesy. I promise I will listen to you and I will hear you out. Maybe you will disagree with something I say, and maybe you will agree with something I say. That is good. That is Jewish. One thing we probably can agree on is that the way Israel is often discussed in public discourse has a negative valence. In the academic world, there are organized, professionalized boycotts. In the media world, there are think pieces in mainstream outlets we all read that go as far as questioning the very legitimacy of the Jewish state. And of course, we've seen elected officials, activists, and Twitter users alike all throw around the ugliest of words about the Jewish state with relative ease. Words I won't say from the Bima, but words you know, words you've heard a million times. The public discussion of Israel in our country right now, in the circles that most of us travel in, ranges somewhere between tense and negative to shaming, vitriolic, hyperbolic, and even condemnatory. Maybe you think the way we talk about Israel is appropriate and deserved. Or maybe you think the way we talk about Israel is wildly anti-Semitic. Maybe you are somewhere in between. But for our purposes tonight, it really doesn't matter. Because what I'm interested in isn't the quality or lack thereof of our Israel discourse, it's the outcome of our Israel discourse, the impact of it. What is the end game of an Israel negative worldview? Tonight, I'm wondering, where does Israel vitriol ultimately release its venom? Are you familiar with what happened in the Sunrise Movement this year? The Sunrise Movement is a climate change organization for young people across the country. Wonderful. They released a public statement withdrawing from a rally because of organizations, quote, that are all in alignment with and in support of Zionism and the state of Israel. The organizations that were so terrible, so terrifying, and so toxic that the Sunrise Movement refused to stand shoulder to shoulder with included the Jewish Council on Public Affairs, a pluralistic organization that's existed for over 70 years, the Religious Action Center, known as the RAC, where our teens and teens from across the reform movement across the country go to participate in social justice work, and finally, the National Council for Jewish Women, which has been leading the liberal charge on abortion access. The topic of the Sunrise Movement's refusal to participate was Israel, but the subject of the punishment was us. So let me ask you, does the Jew in Jerusalem really feel the weight of the American online condemnation? Does the Jew in Beersheba bear the brunt of the boycotts? Do the Jews of Tel Aviv and Tiberia really worry about shawarma sales because of the public shaming of Israel in the United States? I say no. The people who will ultimately feel the wrath of our national discourse are not out there an ocean away. They're in here. They are you and me and the Jews of America. Israel hostility in America leads to hostility towards Jews in America. How could it not? I want to be explicit. I do not believe that all criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. Israel has a free press and an independent judiciary. It is a democracy. Criticism is part of that culture of freedom, and it's certainly part of the Jewish culture as well. Just like here, criticism is often necessary, and it can even be patriotic. I certainly do not always agree with the government of Israel, which is kind of a silly thing to say, because Israel seems to have a new government every day anyways. But nonetheless, if I lived there, there are policies I would vote against, the same way I do here. I do not believe any country is beyond reproach, so criticism is not my concern. But I am deeply concerned about Israel hostility and even hate, because there are a growing number of people and organizations who do not want to sit down and have a thoughtful conversation about policy. They don't want to map out possibilities about how to arrive at a two-state solution. They're not interested in coexistence. They're not interested in peace. They are not interested in us. They are people who hate Israel or have been swept into hating Israel. And Israel hate leads to Jew hate. How could it not? Maybe you don't agree. Maybe you think when we are talking about Israel, we are talking about Israelis and Israeli government and Israeli policies. Maybe that provides some reassuring distance to the problem. Or maybe you think this issue is far-flung and rare. Yeah, it's just some climate change organization with a few quacks leading the charge. But don't be fooled. Excising Jews from public life is the prevalent and increasingly pervasive anti-Semitic practice of our day. It's not just climate change, and it's not just a one-off. Jews are increasingly excluded in social justice, in equity and inclusivity work, in business, in civil rights, and in academia. And it happens in New York, in California, and everywhere in between. It happened in Brooklyn this year. A Brooklyn-based marketing firm explained it would be too difficult to work with the Shalom Hartman Institute because of their Israel relationship. The Hartman Institute is a deeply liberal, pluralistic Jewish institution with a Muslim leadership initiative that analyzes Israel's place in the world with such painstaking seriousness and patience and self-reflection that I myself sometimes lose patience with them. The Hartman Institute is a wonderful place. It represents the best of us. No matter, no marketing for you, the Hartman Institute was told. It's just a little too complicated for us. Zionism was the subject of the conversation, but Jews in America, we are the object. Zionist is the code word. Jew is the actual word. In 2017, Jews were expelled from the Dyke March in Chicago. Lofting a rainbow flag with a Jewish star on it, the marchers were told to leave because they, quote, made people feel unsafe. The organizers didn't want anything at the march, quote, that can inadvertently or advertently express Zionism. They did not remove people from other backgrounds or other flags or other symbols, just the Jews. Zionism is the entry point. Excluding Jews is the result. Even the Anti-Defamation League is not immune to this exclusion. In 2018, Starbucks reached out to the ADL to help lead an anti-bias training for its employees. But apparently, the ADL is too controversial to work with now. Despite their long history of support for civil rights and deep engagement fighting for equality for all, a cadre of Israel haters reached out to condemn their involvement. One wrote that the ADL was, quote, an anti-Arab, anti-Palestinian organization that peddles Islamophobia and attacks America's prominent Muslim organizations and sponsors U.S. law enforcement agents to travel and get trained by the Israeli military. All debunked misnomers, but no matter. Because of public pressure, Starbucks removed the one Jewish organization from participating in anti-bias training. Israel is the runway. American Jews are the destination. It's even in the religious world. This year, the leader of the Council of American Muslim Relations publicly warned against, quote, polite Zionists and Zionist synagogues. I guess that's me. I guess that's us. Israel is often the topic, but we American Jews are the target. And I'm not suggesting that if this conversation had some impact on Israelis, it would be all right. I would, of course, condemn that as well. I'm a proud Zionist, a lover of Israel, and I pray for the strength to support Israel, even when it seems hard to do so. But this Israel conversation is not about Israel. It's about you and me. It's about Jews existing in America. Shaming Israel is the portal to silencing Jews. It's the way in. Do you think I'm overstating it? I wish I was. So before you decide, think about college campuses. At Tufts University, there was a student-led effort to compel other students from participating in anything that appeared to, quote, normalize or benefit Israel. The campaign demanded students withdraw from birthright trips, from J Street participation, and to withdraw from a class entitled Visions of Peace that focuses on dialogue between Israelis and Palestinians. Tufts University condemned this effort. At the University of Vermont, rocks were thrown at the campus Hillel, and a group for survivors of sexual assault allegedly denied membership to pro-Israel students. The United States Department of Education has opened an investigation into this behavior, which the university denies. At Rutgers University, the Jewish fraternity is regularly pelted by eggs, which happened just last week, this past Rosh Hashanah. At CUNY, a professor withheld a recommendation from a student until the student, quote, clarified their Israel position. At Berkeley, certain student groups created what was reported as a, quote, Jew-free zone, banning speakers who support Zionism in a campus that is intended to celebrate diversity. These rules, broadly and obviously panned as anti-Semitic, ensure that the dean of the law school, himself a liberal Zionist, could not speak there. And at Harvard, students installed an art piece about Israel in the middle of campus, including images alluding to long debunked lies about Jews spreading disease, killing children, and being bloodthirsty during what they called annual Apartheid Week. Imagine being a 19-year-old Jewish person on campus. How would that make you feel? Anti-Israel are the words. Anti-Jewish is the effect. Israel is the topic, and our children are the target. Are we going to allow this to be the great social justice movement of our day? It has all the hallmarks of a successful campaign: governmental support, policy goals, high levels of funding, and passionate supporters, professional leadership. It's organized, it's focused, and it results in the reduction of Jews in public life. The way we talk about Israel is the way we talk about Jews. And it does feel a little bit dangerous to say it, actually, even here in this room with friends for some reason. But I'm thinking that standing on that balcony listening to rockets intended to kill me and other civilians, that it also feels dangerous not to say it. Israel hostility is Jew hostility. If I can't say it, how can I ask you to? If I can't call out what's really going on with this backwards, hypercritical, hyperbolic, hysterical Israel conversation, how can I ask you to? If I can't say that the American-Israel conversation results in rampant anti-Semitism, how can we ask our kids to say it? Because it's not some other Jew's problem out there. It's ours in here. It's not about those Jews that don't look like us or talk like us or live like us or think like us. It is us. Are we willing to accept this elimination of Jewish existence in civic life? Should we be stuffed back into the narrows of Egypt? I say no. I don't see this concept as being political at all. It's not about being a Republican or a Democrat or about being on any certain spot on the spectrum of being a Democrat. It's about treating human beings equally and with dignity. It's about demanding justice for all, including Jewish Americans. Because the consequences of going quietly into the night, of allowing this continued exclusion of Jews from public life, are dire for the diaspora. It means that good people who want to celebrate inclusivity, eliminate climate change, do their jobs, make the world a better place, or simply learn in a school won't be able to do so. It means the minimization of Jews in public life. It means that America is once again experimenting with its darkest tendencies. It means that the future of American Jewry is more fragile than it's ever been. It means that anti-Semitism is winning, and it can't mean that. Every year we hear the sound of the shofar. I like to explain the shofar to children as God's alarm clock, calling us out, telling us to wake up and shake off the dust, to open our eyes and stop imbibing what we are told, and instead analyze deeply who we are. This year, the shofar blast calls us to call out Israel hate and its hysteria for what it is, little more than a gateway to anti-Semitism, and often anti-Semitic itself. I know, it's hard for us to stand up against this conversation for lots of reasons. It's intimidating and scary and risky. You could be castigated, called out, condemned, or canceled. Going against the grain is not without cost. And anyways, it is a really confusing conversation. But nonetheless, we have to say it. We need to say it over and over again. And I believe in us. I believe we can say it. The way we talk about Israel is not as scary as having Islamic Jihad launch hundreds or thousands of rockets a handful of miles away from you. But the Israel conversation in America is its own type of violence. And I'm not sure there's an iron dome for this one. So what should we do? 3 options. Option 1, we can leave. Jews have done it before, since forever. We can leave these institutions and these organizations and start our own climate change advocacy groups, our own institutions to celebrate the LGBTQ plus community, our own universities. That's what the rabbis of post-destruction Israel did. They had no choice. They lost all of their institutions and they changed the future of the Jewish people, and oh my goodness, did that work. Their innovation is why you and I are sitting here today under the umbrella of this thing we still call Judaism. The mystics of Tzfat did the same thing. They lost their geographic and cultural framework and they turned inward. They invented things and they wrote things and created what Jewish mysticism is today. They inspired Kabbalat Shabbat, which you and I do every week. They abandoned all they knew, and they changed the trajectory of Judaism for the better. Maybe we should too. Maybe we should say, we're done. We're abandoning these organizations and structures that don't want us, and we will make our own centers of justice and education and business. Or, option 2, we can stay. We can stay and we can try and change this trajectory from within, Davka, we can send our children to these colleges and help them represent as Jews. We can speak up and speak out. We can counter-protest and counter-program. We can fundraise and coalition build and organize. We can remind people that just as we have every obligation to fight for the dignity and justice for others, we also have every right to be a part of that work. We can stay and muster the chutzpah to shame the shaming of Israel. There are many Jewish institutions and groups and friend circles right now that are reevaluating their existence seriously and frantically. They are trying to find ways to stay and to make things better. And then, finally, option 3. Option 3 is to do nothing. We like to say in this world that there are no wrong answers, but in this case, there is a wrong answer, and it's answer 3. Because doing nothing is the outcome we absolutely cannot tolerate. We cannot pretend this problem is on the periphery when it's pervasive and appalling. Ignoring it is enabling it. Denying it is helping it flourish. It is not for us to complete the work, but neither are we free to desist from it. We can't desist. There is broken glass all over this world, and we must pick up those pieces and repair them. The very future of the diaspora may depend on which option we choose. Option 3, doing nothing at all, is no option. I want to conclude with good news. We here in this room have all the resources to really work on this problem. If you wonder what they are, just look around at the Jews and family members of Jews in this room. We have some of the best minds, the kindest people, the warmest souls right here, right now. You are sitting in a room of people that have your back, of people who support you in good times and bad, of people who at your worst help to raise you up and at your best celebrate you. Together we can be a part of and even lead the way in ensuring that we quiet the growing acceptance of Jew hate. The book of Chronicles teaches, Ata einei yehiyu petuchot v'oznei koshuvot letfilat hamakom hazeh. Now my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to the prayers of this place. May our eyes be open and our ears be attentive. This new year, I pray that Israelis of all backgrounds can stand on their balconies without fear. And I also pray for us. May God grant us the strength to hold firm against hate, to open our eyes to what is happening before us and to stand against it. May we have the strength to see what is before us, and may we have the courage to call it out. And may God sustain the Jewish people for now and all time. Shana Tova. We continue our service with the Vidui Tavo Lefanecha on page 82, and we ask that you please rise.
Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, V'imotenu, Tavo lefanecha, Tefilateinu, ve'al titalam mitchinateinu. אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, צדיקים אנחנו ולא חטאנו, אבל אנחנו חטאנו, אבינו פשענו.
We continue with the Shamnu, an alphabet of our sins. Please join us. Continue on page 86 with Al Khayt. The cantor will chant the Hebrew. We'll read the English together.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזדון ובשגגה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בדיבור פה.
The ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בטיפשות פה.
The ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בכחש ובחסר, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ברכילות.
The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בפילות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזלזול הורים ומורים.
The ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בווידוי פה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהונאת ריח.
The ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחוזק יד, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך במעשה ובמתן.
The ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, and lead us to atonement.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בפריקת עול.
The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגילוי עריות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך במחי ובמשתה.
The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביצר הרע, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בנשק ובמרבית.
The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בלצון, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בנטיית גרון.
The ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בשנאת חינם, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בתרומת שפתיים.
The ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בלשון הרע, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בצרות עין.
The ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Shema Kolenu, page 98. God of forgiveness, we come before you in need of compassion. At Sinai, you spoke words that guide our lives to this day, but our ancestors lost faith in you, lost hope in their Redeemer. With one voice they had promised, we will do and obey, and yet, stiff-necked, they broke their word, adorning an idol of gold. How wondrous your compassion in the face of their rebellion, your forgiveness in that moment of human weakness and doubt. We too have broken promises to you. We too worship the work of our own hands. We too make a gold of God, and we too forsake your word. At Sinai, you revealed 13 attributes of mercy. They're aspects of your nature, your very essence, we now recall.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Echanun, Erech Apayim, Rav Chesed ve'emet, Yotzer Chesed la'alafim, Oseh avon v'fesha, v'chata v'naker.
Adonai, Adonai, God compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving, and true, showing mercy to the thousandth generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon. We sing Ki Anu Amecha, page 106.
Ki anu amecha
Ve'ata Eloheinu, anu amecha, ve'ata avinu, anu avadecha, ve'ata Adoneinu, anu kehakecha, ve'ata Elkeinu, anu melechecha, ve'ata Goraneinu, anu tzonecha, ve'ata ro'einu, anu karmecha, ve'ata motreinu, anu fulatecha, ve'ata yotzreinu, anu raitecha, ve'ata dodeinu, anu segulatecha, ve'ata ro'einu, anu avmecha, ve'ata malkeinu, anu ma'amirecha, ve'ata ma'amireinu. Yai, yai, yalalalai, ai, lai, lai, lalalai, lalai, ai, lalalai, ai, lai, lai, ai, lai, lai, Our God and God of our ancestors, we are your people and you are our God. We are your children and you are our father, our mother. We are the people who serve you and you call us to serve. We are your community and you are our portion. We are your legacy and you are our purpose. We are your flock and you are our shepherd. We are your vineyard and you watch over us. We are your work and you are our maker. We are your beloved and you are our lover. We are your treasure and you are the ones we cherish. We are your people and you reign over us. We offer you our words and you offer us yours. So forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. We turn now to Avinu Malkeinu on page 114. We invite Judy Schiff to the bima to help us open the ark, and we ask that you please rise.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kol Nidre, Avinu Malkeinu.
Please be seated. Oh, now I did this in the last service too. Remain standing as we recite Aleinu, which is on page 116. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר להנא אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא. We approach Kaddish as we think of those who are gathered with us through the blessing of memory. We mourn the loss of Village Temple members Andrea Booman, Lee Brosgol, and Trudy Kaplan. We mourn the passing of Michael Simon, Ted Horowitz, Helen Jansen, Russell Lees, Shirley Friedman, Alfred Kahn, and Alice Messenger Lowenthal. Are there additional names at this time? We mourn as one community and turn to page 122. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'almad yivarach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amin. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei d'kudesha barichu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran bi'alma v'imru amin. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'el kol Yisrael v'imru amin. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'el kol Yisrael, v'el kol yoshvei tevel, V'imru, Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace to all who mourn and upon all Israel, and may we say, Amen. Please be seated. A few announcements before we conclude. First of all, Shana Tova. And we, of course, wish you a Tzom Kol, an easy fast, although it's not supposed to be too easy. Remember, everyone over the age of 13 is required to fast. Also, remember that if you're pregnant or ill, or if you're particularly vulnerable in any way that makes it dangerous to fast, you're actually forbidden to do so. If you're under the age of 13, do whatever you want. You always do anyways. I, of course, want to remind you of the important work of our Social Action Committee. We're engaging with Dayenu, a national climate change movement. We're working very hard on securing voting rights and on refugee and immigration issues. Of course, we're welcoming a family of 3, God willing, from the Ukraine in just a few weeks' time that I spoke about on Rosh Hashanah. If you're interested in getting involved in any of that, I urge you to contact the synagogue and to be involved. Services tomorrow, 9:30 at City Winery. Please don't come here, but please do go there. So we'll see you there. And of course, our morning service is followed by a family service at 12:30 with our choir. Even if you don't have children that age, even if you've never been in a choir to a family service, you're welcome to come. It's uplifting. It's feel good. Why not? At 3 o'clock, we'll meet back here at the Village Temple for a teen program at 3. If you are a teen, that announcement was for you. At 4 o'clock, we'll meet back in the sanctuary, and I'll teach a bit about the book of Jonah. We'll have Yisker, an afternoon Torah service, and of course, it all concludes with beautiful Ne'ilah, with Havdalah, and the final blast of the shofar. Yes, those are my announcements. So we wish you a Shana Tova, Gemar Tov, Chatima Tova, thank you. And of course, we conclude with the priestly benediction. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. Yisar Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace. Oseh shalom mimrama, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Oseh shalom mimrama, Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shana Tova.
takes up all day, but really we have a
Right.
9:30 service.